What's going on, guys? I'm back with another one. And I watched a movie called Dune 2021, starring Timothy Chalamet, Rebecca Ferguson, and Jason Momoa. First of all, I have sort of a rough history with remakes. I watched the original. I love it to death. Then I watched the remake, and it's complete and utter garbage. Okay? Movies like King Kong, which wasn't a bad remake, but forgettable. Still forgettable. Alright. You got movies like Nightmare on Elm Street or Carrie, which were just all wastes of time, waste of film. All right, very disappointing to the point where I'm just scared to watch remakes anymore. I've given up on it because of watching the originals and then being disappointed highly. Then on the flip side, we got remakes that I've only seen the remake of. Movies like Let Me In, Magnificent Seven, The Fly. Great masterpieces. Wonderful, fun films to watch. Only thing is, I'm afraid, completely afraid to watch the original makings of these. And I still haven't seen the original ones of the three I just mentioned right now. Okay? So this is an issue. And now we have Dune 2021. Now we already know that there was a Dune 1984 originally. So my question is, will Dune 2021 be better than its original? Or should they have never made this movie? Ever. But to find out, let's go. Dune 2021. For those who don't know, for those who are not aware, they rubbed this movie in our faces so much. If you don't know about this film by now, or this remake, you must be living with the Fremens. Okay, you must be on that desert, away from the rest of society, and you don't know what's going on. Because you gotta know about this. Alright? Don't play me. Dune 2021. It's pretty much the remake of what you already know. There's a young guy named Paul who has visions of leading his family or leading his kingdom or his namesake to the promised land one day. And upon those visions, he sees some deaths, and he sees this, and he wonders this, and he has a lot of doubts, but he has to believe. He has to believe, okay? Because it's all about the namesake and the fight for the spices, the resources of spice, okay? Yes, believe it or not, that's the premise of the movie. It's futuristic. Just know it's in the future, okay? Positives. Upon watching, and by the way, this is going to be very much a comparative review. Just know that. So my first positive with this, the remake had far more explanation than the original. Because in the original, they really just threw things out at you. It just popped out. It really was. There was no lead up to what was going on. You just were thrown in the middle of something abruptly, very, very hard, very harsh, by the way. But with this remake, they break down what the spices are about and the importance of the water and just so many things that are explained that should have been explained in the first one. They break down and why it's important to have the daughters and all this. All this is explained. I love that. And there's also a little hologram that Paul watches from time to time that explains to him. Even the characters are better informed. Even the characters in the movie are better informed about what's going on in the movie. You can't get any better than that with the information, with the info, with the 411, keeping us up on what's going on. All right. I don't want my hand to be held, but at the same time, come on, man. What? So confusing on the original. So confusing. I'm not lying. Another thing. This movie was a lot less cheese than the original. I'm going to tell you right now. I watched the first one. And yes, it came out a long time ago, and I was aware of it a long time ago, but I've never watched it a long time ago. I watched it recently. Okay? And it didn't age well. It was so cheesy, so corny. And the characters took themselves seriously. So serious, like too serious. And for a while, I wanted to believe this was a parody that I was watching when I watched the original. Because every character, they acted as if they were purposely acting bad. It was purposely some bad acting going on here. I felt it had to be. It had to be. No one can act this bad or just be this exaggerated with their acting. Okay? And there were scenes that didn't make sense. And just, bottom line, the original was a what the F. It was a WTF. Okay? Easily. But the new one, the remake, it takes itself a little more serious as far as not the cheesy serious. I'm just talking about it's more professional of a movie. Okay, it's more of a professional film than the first one. Thank goodness. Another positive about this: the visuals and cinematography are slightly better than the original. All right. Now, I know that's not hard to do because it's been years. And the original, honestly, the original wasn't that bad for the year that it came out as far as visuals and CGI and so on and so on. But it's just good to see something updated and brought to your eyes like they did with this 2021 version. It was good to see that version of it. Because I felt seeing the old version and how it looked, I was like, okay, I know they can do way better now, easily. They don't have far to walk. All right, so that's giving a kudos to the old one too. All right, good on that one. A next positive for me with this movie, the old one and the new one, just the plot originally. Okay. I've never seen a movie where they flip it with the genders and it's important to have a daughter instead of a son. That was different. And I was kind of like, okay. They're changing it up here. I was saying myself in the first one, I was watching the original movie. I was like, okay, so it's a bad thing to have a son within this particular family. It's a bad thing to have a son. But the funny thing was, they made it seem as if the mother purposely had a son. I'm still trying to figure out, how does she purposely have a son? Is that I know there's some ways to carry your kid to make sure you have a boy or whatever. I'm not believing that for a minute. That's, come on. But the movie really was serious about being angry with the mother for having a son to spite them or whatever. And they were disappointed and mad with her and like,
You had this son, so we had to trust you, and da 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 da. You know we only want girls. It's always an odd premise. That's always an odd thing to watch because it's usually not like that. It's usually the other way around. So, kudos for being creative with that. That was different. That was different. Okay. Negatives. When watching the original Dune, one thing that it did have, even though it was PG-13 as well, it was a little more gory than the remake. There was actually some blood in the original. And I'm surprised they can get away with that. I guess, in the 80s it was different. But now, that blood thing's not going to fly. Not with 2021. Okay? So, in the original, there were scenes where the villain was going to torture somebody that was brought in. And then it peers off and you see blood splatter against the wall. Okay? And then on top of that, and I'll get to the villain in a minute, but the villain was just so grotesque in the face. And you don't get that with the new version of the villain, known as Vladimir, whatever his last name is. Okay, it's so different. And in the original, there are scenes where I just couldn't even look at the screen. It was just so harsh. It was a little harsh. It was a little harsh on certain scenes. Like, man, this is weird. This is strange. What is going on here? What is this? But with the new one, they hold back a little bit on the violence. They hold back. And that's going to get me to the fighting scenes. All right. Because like I said, in the original, those fighting scenes were, they showed a lot more. They showed a lot more. I felt like they showed a lot more in the original. And now we look at the remake, and when they slice with a sword, I see no blood. Okay? There's so much slicing here and there, and people getting cut up. No blood? No blood flying? What? Come on, you can at least give me some blood. But I guess that's not how that works. Okay, so on the fight scenes and the gore, it's kind of a downer for that. You're not gonna get a lot of that. I'll tell you that right now. If you're expecting it, I hate to disappoint you. Okay, that's just a low point that they couldn't. I guess they couldn't pull it off. They couldn't pull it off this time. Seems like they did back in the day. Not now. Sorry to tell you that. Last negative about this movie. It feels like this is going a little quick because, remember, this is only part one of this remake. So, this is what I'm going off. This is what I'm going off so far. But my last negative for this. There were some changes in the details of the characters compared from the last one to now. All right. One that I had problems with in particular was the villain himself, Vladimir. Because in the original, Vladimir was just over the top. He was highly over the top, man. He was just a nasty, despicable, disgusting character. His face was it was oozing with pus, and he was, people were telling him he was the most beautiful thing in the world and all this, and he's not. And that was interesting to me. And I now, even though, it was an over the top thing because the original was completely corny, that added on to the cheese. But at the same time, I kind of enjoyed that. I was just asking that maybe they dial it back a little bit with his character. So what the remake did, it dialed it all the way back. It dialed it all the way back. The only thing that is similar to the old one
with this villain is that he's obese and he can float in the air when he wants to. Okay, yeah, because the villain just for no reason he just float in the air all the time, and that was not explained. That's still not explained how he can do that. But he loves to float around the air. Okay, he's a character. He's quite the character, but he's a little chilled out in this one. And plus, there are characters that I feel will not be in this remake, especially in the second half. All right, so I'm a little disappointed with that too. Particular Sting. All right, and that is the so far review. And with that, I've got to give the new one a hell yes. All right. Hell yeah. So far, I was entertained. All right. I was entertained so far. We shall see for the second half. Would you press that like button, share this video, and you better subscribe.